Hey guys, what's up? It's TheThirdKnight here, and welcome to progress video number 14. I certainly achieved a bunch of different levels since episode 13, and I've certainly achieved some very useful milestones, which has been great fun. I specifically have the ongoing goal of being a Barrows Pure, so that is 99 attack, ranged, magic, HP, prayer, and strength with 70 defense, and I've been working towards that as much as possible. So it is going to sound strange when I mention I've been training rune crafting a bit recently. Now that hasn't been actually because I want the runecraft XP, but it's been for the money that you can get from crafting nature runes, as that money will then benefit my overall goal of being a Barrows Pure. I've tested how much money I get from crafting nature runes at the Abyss, and I calculated it to be around 500k if you're going at it fairly well but not overly worried about a few missed game ticks here and there. Whereas if you had full concentration, nothing else in your mind, just completely dedicated to rune crafting, it would be closer to around 600k an hour. Obviously that's crafting single nature runes, that's not double nature runes. So it has definitely been some good money, especially now that nature runes have gone up slightly more than they were worth previously, which brings me to my next point. Nightmare Zone magic has been nerfed. As you may know, I made a guide on one of the magic training methods available to players in Nightmare Zone. However, despite the recent voting polls that were specific to Nightmare Zone and using magic within Nightmare Zone, it was actually nerfed around a week ago. Basically, there were polls asking for various updates to Nightmare Zone to stop people from being able to AFK while training magic, as well as to not allow players to get infinite free runes within Nightmare Zone. There was understandably mixed opinions on this, and so none of the polls were successful. You obviously need a 75% or greater yes vote for anything to be successful in one of the polls. So it was definitely a little odd to see Nightmare Zone magic being nerfed regardless of the poll results. Now, I know this is a controversial topic and uncomfortable territory I'm entering here, but I can understand why it was nerfed. Now, I say nerfed, you can still get the same XP and AFK using the same method, but now you will need to bring your own runes, or you need to have certain bosses within the dream that you didn't need in the dream before to get the infinite free runes to spawn. However, those infinite free runes that spawned when you verse the 3 particular monsters, that was actually polled in the most recent poll, and that will no doubt be taken away as well. So it's pretty safe to say that Nightmare Zone magic as a fast free magic XP training method has been completely nerfed. So as a result, the reward points you can spend at the Nightmare Zone reward shop are once again harder to come by, and so rewards such as runes and pure essence and everything else listed in the shop have risen in price once again. Now that's a good thing for rune crafters and other players who had rewards that were impacted previously, although it is unfortunate for anyone who was actually trying to train magic there, of course. As you all know, I got 99 magic from Nightmare Zone. Had Nightmare Zone not been there, I wouldn't be anywhere close to 99, but on the flip side, most of the people training at Nightmare Zone have had 99 magic in the main game and then had to completely restart from level 1 on old school. And understandably, your average player doesn't A, enjoy doing 140,000 alks or a similar grind method, and B, have the time for either of those after having already invested so much time into the main game. Now, I probably could have listed many more pros and cons for both sides, but I think that throughout all of this, it is really important to recognize that Nightmare Zone magic is a controversial issue, and as with all controversial issues, it is always much more complicated than you may first think. So if you really care about your opinion, it will be hard to take either side with a number of pros and cons for both. Anyway, so in conclusion, Nightmare Zone has been nerfed, and as a result, runecrafting Nats is better than it was before, which has been a plus because that is some of what I've been doing recently. Moving on from that, most of you hopefully know of my other ongoing video series called PvE Arbiter, where I have a list of pretty much the best PvE items in the game, or at least for a Barrows Pure, and to get each of these items I can only use money from player versus enemy drops, or items I have sold from player versus enemy drops to get the items on the list. So all this runecrafting, all the money I've been making from runecrafting and other activities such as Kingdom, which is not player versus enemy, can only contribute towards supplies such as teleports or food and potions and anything like that. So now you may be wondering how runecrafting has been benefiting my progress towards being a Barrows Pure. Well, these supplies and food and whatever other items I can purchase will all be necessary for PKing and other PvE activities, which I will then use to train up prayer, attack, strength, all the other levels I have to go for being a Barrows Pure. So I absolutely assure you that runecrafting has not just been unnecessary backtracking, and it has certainly been nice to mix things up a little bit. I'm not actually sure if I ever really gave crafting nature runes or any other sort of rune crafting much of a shot in the main game, and I've actually been quite surprised at how I haven't become bored of it yet. But I promise I will be stopping as soon as I have built up a reasonable amount of PvE supplies. I will especially be doing as much rune crafting or other random money making as possible up until this Thursday when the Wildy rejuv comes out. so I'm all ready to go with as much PK gear and supplies as possible to check it out and live stream it at the same time. Hopefully by then I have enough money from RuneCraft to just do player versus enemy related activities, or mostly player versus enemy related activities, to expand my bank. It would be absolutely awesome to see as many of you guys as possible on that live stream as well. I'm sure it'll be an absolute blast. I'll have more details out about that soon. I mentioned Kingdom a bit earlier, so I've actually put 1 mil into Kingdom from Nature Rune, so that is going again very nicely. I've been raking weeds at least once every 3 days. It's definitely worth doing Kingdom if you haven't already. It is just, you know, free money for a tiny amount of work. I really like it, especially because it means time, like when I'm at university and cannot play, is not completely wasted. And by wasted, I mean in terms of XP and GP waste on RuneScape anyway. I definitely wouldn't say spending time at university studying a degree is a complete waste of time. Now, I have an important question for you guys. I added the prez Chivalry and Piety. To be honest, I call it Piety. Not sure if it's Piety. I have no idea. I actually checked on the RuneScape official pronunciation guide how you meant to actually pronounce it. Didn't actually have it listed there. I think it only had like areas in game listed there. It didn't actually have specific items or, you know, I guess abilities and stuff, or prez. But anyway, I have added the prez Chivalry and Piety to the PvE Arbiter series. So that means, as I said before, I could only get the bones for those prayer levels with money generated through player versus enemy activities. However, obviously the Wildy rejuvenation is just around the corner. I believe it's about 5 days away from at this time of recording the video. And I have university in between now and then, and probably a fair bit of university work to do at home, as well as just obviously visiting the campus. So not to mention, I want to actually prepare as much as possible on Old School RuneScape for the update, of course, in terms of supplies and everything. Piety would be very useful to have, because obviously higher prayer points is going to be more helpful when PKing or doing most combat related activities in the wilderness, and not to mention the fact that the prayer Piety is very powerful. So I'm asking you guys, should I quickly buy the dragon bones I need for Piety before the wilderness rejuvenation update, even if that is done using Nature Rune money and non-PvE Arbiter money? I think it's going to be worth it. I would love to go God Wars Dungeon or something and try to get the 2 to 3 mil I need for 70 prayer there, but I don't think I'll have the time. If I were to do this, I would remove the prayers off of PvE Arbiter, so this is just a complete one-off. I'll probably wait about a day or so just to read your feedback on this matter before I take the decision into my own hands. So if you feel really strongly either way, please tell me which you prefer and why. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now when I mention PvE Arbiter, feel free to check out episode 1 of the video series, which will be linked in the description below. Also, another little side note before I end the video is I've finally gotten around to renovating my player-owned house, which I'm very pleased about. I managed to get 50 construction so that I could place portal rooms in my house, and I also outsourced another player with 86 construction, I believe it was, to come and make me all mahogany furniture for my costume room so that I can finally put away any holiday items and other random items in my costume room of my player-owned house to free up some bank space. So I'm really pleased with that. I now have all 7 teleport portals, a glory, and my altar right next to the entrance portal, and set up in a way that maximizes efficiency whilst not making my house look like complete crap, and so that I can actually expand it later if I ever get some extra money to splurge on something like a demonic throne, which I always dream about. I also recently tidied up my bank a bit and reorganized it to be set up for PKing and just scaping in general, so that was a bit of fun. For anyone interested, I actually checked out a bank video from Spark, Mac, Bodhi, and a few other famous RuneScape YouTubers for inspiration and ideas, and I sort of merged their bank setups with my own style, and so now my OCD is satisfied, or at least until I buy more PK supplies and fill up more bank slots. Anyway, that's it for episode 14 of my Old School RuneScape progress video series. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope to see you at the Wilderness Rejuvenation livestream. So much to look forward to. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next video.